looking at the NFC, it's completely wide open.
Sports betting, especially in the NFL, is surging in curiosity and popularity. On this video, we'll give you a few tips that will save you a lot of unnecessary losses, explain some basic terminology, and of course, give you a peek behind the curtain of how pro sports bettor Amanda Vance of AmandaPicks.com comes up with her picks, spots trends, navigates thousands of her clients through the murky waters of your favorite sports books. I'm Alan Seslowsky of RotoWire, along with Amanda Vance. Amanda, let's start with some cautionary tips. What are a couple mistakes that you see that new and experienced sports bettors make?
So a couple things right off the bat when you say that I think of are people like to go where the money is. People see that everybody is taking, let's say, the Buccaneers to cover the spread. So people think that's the safe bet, when I always say you have to keep in mind Vegas always wins. So following the public is not necessarily, while it may feel safer, your money is not. So I always say fade where the public is. Another one, when you look at the board, you see the first thing that comes to mind and looks so easy, and you want to take it, always bet against yourself there, because nothing is ever too easy with the NFL. So another thing I like to say is primetime games. Those are the big ones where you can really win money if you don't bet with the public. So I always love seeing, you can just research, or I always put on polls on my stories on Instagram to see. You can see it by also following the line movement. Primetime games especially, fade the public.
How can you find out what the public money is on?
As I said, it's very easy to see where the lines are moving. So you can always find the opening number. So let's say it starts out as -3. The Bucs are -3 favorites. And if it moves and it gets greater, and let's say before the game time, the Bucs are -7, that means that the public is betting for them to cover the spreads. I like how I do it. I'll just make polls on Instagram before every primetime game. That way I just see where my followers vote, and then I know where people's heads are really at. And then again, I fade them. I say, thanks guys, I'm going against all of you.
On AmandaPicks.com, you always talk about how to spot a bad bet. What is a bad bet and how do you spot it?
So one thing a lot of people do is they like to wait. The line is moving in a certain way and they'll wait till right before the game. Or some people think the opposite. Some people will take it early and think they have the steal because they took it right when the line comes out. I personally think it's a bad bet if you take it too early, because as we just mentioned, line movement. I like to see where the public is at before I take my bet. So I'll talk to some big handicappers and they'll say, oh, yeah, it's -4. I took it right when it opened at -1.5. And I'm like, well, now technically you are betting with the public. So I like to wait and see right before the game. That's why I don't give out any picks except futures until, maybe an hour or two before kickoff, especially with the NFL, because I like to get the full idea of the action. Another bad bet, when it's too easy, when you see something that just looks too good to be true, It is every time.
Yeah, right. When you see the bad team getting a lot of points, it's like that's all baked into the line. I like that you pointed that out as well. I want to go over a couple basic terms, glossary terms for bettors that we hear a lot. You hear them in advertising. A parlay bet. Explain what a parlay bet is, and is that a good bet or is that a sucker's bet?
Parlay, for those that don't know, you take more than one bet, and in order to win your money, you need every single leg of the bet to hit. With the NFL, I'm a big fan of taking primetime parlays, as I said. So by that, I mean, I would take an over-under for the entire game, and then I would say, okay, parlay it with either this team to win or take the spread if I feel comfortable. Here's where you can make money. If you take money line for the game, take the Bucs, and then also parlay it with the over-under, the game total. And then if both hit, it kind of makes it worth it to take the money line. So you can do it in a safe way that is, responsible gambling, where you do win and it is beneficial.
Let's start with the MVP. Who's going to be your NFL MVP for 2022, and how did you get to that conclusion?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Tom Brady. And as I mentioned, I took this weeks ago. I took this before Julio Jones went there, knowing that it could be Tom Brady's last. I use that with quotes because we've been saying it's his last year for however long now. But his last year, possibly with the Bucks, and looking at the NFC, it's completely wide open. So I have a good feeling the Bucks are going to win that division, and they're going to make a playoff run. So right then and there, you know that the Bucks are going to have quite the season. Who's going to do it? It's not their running game. It's Tom Brady. He's got the weapons to do so. And the odds are incredible for taking a guy that is probably the best guy to ever step on a football field. The odds are great. You can find it at plus 850. I think you said on DraftKings. You can find it at plus 900. I've even seen it. I don't see Rodgers having that kind of season this year with his receivers. And I know Josh Allen, there's a lot of hype around him, but you look at, it doesn't matter who wins the Super Bowl with MVP. It's who has an outstanding season.
Based on your rationale there the other day, you told me that offline, and I did sprinkle a little bit on Tom Brady. It's a writer's award, and the narrative of Tom Brady's last hurrah, you got to think that they're going to maybe, lean towards Brady if he has a good season in a weak division, by the way. I want you to tell everybody who your prediction is for Rookie of the Year in 2022.
Well, I don't like to seem biased as a Steelers fan. I want to go with Pickens. I don't want to take an easy receiver. So everybody's ruling out the quarterbacks this year. But I always say you can't rule out the quarterback that comes in onto a team who has a great running game, who has a quarterback at position now who is a big question mark in the future. So I said I like Malik Willis as a potential Rookie of the Year candidate, just because you have to think, look at how Lamar Jackson came into the league with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco wasn't playing bad either, but he was a little bit older and he was throwing the ball a lot. They have a young guy now that can come in, even some wildcat plays, start throwing the ball. And trust me, you want to see what these guys have now. As a Steeler fan, I want to test out Kenny Pickett. So I have a theory. I can see him coming in this season, coming in on some plays, has a great game week 6, and then they throw him in for the rest of the season. Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen with some of these quarterbacks. So if I had to put all my eggs in one basket, I might go with Malik Willis to shock us on Tennessee.
Yeah, and the odds are right on point for him, too. You can bet a little and win a lot. To see more of Amanda Vance's content, go over to amandapicks.com.
Amandapicks.com, I give out minimum 3 bets a day. And obviously, we are winning more than we're losing, or I wouldn't be doing this.
And also, remember, right now, the RotoWire Fantasy Football Draft Kit is live. You can get a peek behind our paywall for free. Just go to rotowire.com/try.